Carol Harrison was diagnosed with an aggressive breast and secondary breast cancer in March 2010. Under Dr. Stephen Chan, she had treatment. She had chemotherapy intravenously to start with, radiotherapy to follow, and a second course of chemotherapy via tablets. By February 2011, it appeared that the disease was under control. But in March of that year, it became apparent that things weren't so good, and a nodule of the cancer had reached Carol's brain. She died in July 2011. David, Carol's husband, is adamant that Carol will not have died in vain. He's obtained Charity Commission approval for Carol's charity and its public benefit objectives. There's a website, www.cmhtrust.org.uk, which has been set up with information on the charity's objectives and activities, which are raising self-awareness and funds for further cancer research. Dr. Steve Chan is a leading consultant clinical oncologist at the Nottingham University Hospital and a visiting professor at the Nottingham Trent University. And he's kindly agreed to give us an insight into the research work being undertaken here in Nottingham. I've come here to the Nottingham City Hospital to speak to Dr. Stephen Chan. Dr. Chan, your centre here in Nottingham has become a globally recognised centre of excellence in research into breast and ovarian cancer. Can you fill me in a bit on some of the work you're doing here?
Our strong point is to identify the subgroup of breast cancer so that we can treat them according to the response of that particular cancer's particular treatment. The advantage of doing that, of course, is to ensure that the treatments fit that particular tumor type, so the patient can avoid as much side effects as possible, because there are no cancer treatment, as you know, have no side effects. They all have some side effects, so we don't want to give the treatment which is not useful for that particular patient. So we have, to that end, a tool called the Nottingham Prognostic Index. So we look at the cancer, the breast cancer from our patients, and over the last 20 years or so, we built up this a very detailed profiling of the cancer. It's called the Nottingham Prognostic Index. We tailor-made our treatment to each individual patient according to that. All the advancement recently, we can now tailor-make the treatments according to the tumor, right down to the molecular basis. That's DNA and the protein and the iron of the tumor. Furthermore, we can actually look at the host response, individual patient had different response to the same cancer, and how we can actually improve the patient's ability to get rid of the cancer.
I think we've all encountered friends or relatives who've had treatment with pretty ghastly side effects. Are you doing specific work to address the problem of the side effects from the treatment?
Yes, we do, and I think that the fact that we can look at each cancer, breast cancer in particular, what actually made that cancer grow, we can pick out the so-called target that we can hit or manipulate with small molecule, for example, antibody, for example, to tailor-make the treatment just to target the cancer itself without hurting the patient. That is the aim, really, of all this individualized medicine. With the advancement of how the body responds to the cancer, we can pick up that response much quicker than much earlier than the X-ray, and very well, nowadays very sort of a gross type of detection, and that's in the pipeline, of course. And of course, you know, we can assume quite safely that the earlier we detect the cancer, the better chance that we have in treating it. Very distressing to see some of our patients who did not want to trouble with their doctors, and you know they noticed a tumor, but they thought that is nothing to worry about and it wouldn't happen to them, and to go to the medical profession to have the proper test and the proper diagnosis is a very important initial step in that journey. Some of our patients say, you know, I wish I had found out earlier, but there are certain cancers, such as the one that Carol had, that present itself right at the beginning, a very late stage, because these are particularly aggressive cancer. There's a certain name attached to it, and that's inflammatory breast cancer, or triple negative, or we don't know what actually drives these cancers. But we very often find the first signs of the cancer is when it is already involving a lot of organs and causing a huge inflammation over, it can be a matter of weeks. The symptoms come on. So it's difficult to detect that particular group, and it's very important to recognize that, and that, you know, so that the family and the patient themselves don't blame themselves for not actually detected it earlier. That opportunity might not be there for us, you know, using conventional diagnosis. That's why the research angle is so important.
What can a small charity, such as Carol Harrison's Cancer Research Charity, contribute in comparison to what the big guys, the big operations that we know all about, can offer? We know that they attract enormous sponsorship, they raise vast amounts of money. What can a charity at the small end of the scale do?
It's very important for the Nottingham people, of course, to be able to participate and further improve the Nottingham standing in that contribution, if you like, to that global effort on improving the better treatment for our patients. Everything's a different scale. I mean, the local efforts, such as what David is doing at the moment, will help us to plumb or support the initial initiative. Then we can apply for the bigger international grant. But, you know, we also need that local support to do these things. Other angle is important too, like, you know, have the right furniture, have the right building, and that help alongside the more scientific specific grant that we're applying for. So the two go hand in hand, really. It's not mutually exclusive.
What about a complete cure for breast and ovarian cancer? I mean, are you a betting man? Would you put any money on there being a complete cure, ever, in your lifetime?
Yes, indeed. I think it's achievable. If you think that in terms of breast cancer treatment, over the last 10 years, we have half the death rate in breast cancer. You know, over 10 years. That progress accelerating all the time. So I don't think that we should give up hope, and that's what we should aim at.
In conclusion, a final word from you to people who might be considering lending their support to the Carol Harrison Cancer Research Charity.
I think it's very noble that David making this huge effort to help us to improve the treatment for our patients, and then to improve particularly to help the patient in Nottingham to have a better deal and have better treatment in every way we can.